Okay, I'd like to call this Newark City Council meeting to order. Happy New Year. Glad you could make it. Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bubb?
Here.
Mr. Cost?
Here.
Mrs. Floyd? Here. Mr. Frazier?
Here.
Ms. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Marmee?
Here.
Mr. Rath?
Here.
And Mr. Roletta?
Here. We have 9 here this evening. Next on the agenda, we have the invocation by Mrs. Floyd, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Would you bow your heads, please? Almighty God, we thank you that we live in a country that has so many freedoms. We ask that you be with those who protect us, whether at the local level through the police and fire, or at the national level through our armed services, both here and abroad. We ask that as we get into the winter months, that you be with those of our citizens who have difficult circumstances, whether it be homelessness or lack of money to pay for some of the heating that they need and those kinds of things. Tonight we ask that you be with the families and friends of Pete Gibney, who used to come to council very frequently and comment on issues we were discussing, and with Aaron Kennedy's family. Aaron Kennedy was very active and involved in the community and passed away this past weekend. We ask that as we start this new council year with new council members and newly elected officials, that you be with us, help us and guide us, grant us your wisdom as we make decisions for the city of Newark. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Floyd. William, you want to start us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have caucus. That's a time for council to discuss anything that may be pertinent to the agenda this evening. Do we have anything? Mrs. Floyd?
Yes, would you please excuse, thank you. Mr. Blake.
Second. Motion by Mrs. Floyd to excuse Mr. Blake, second by Mr. Marmee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed. That passes. Thank you. Next, we have the minutes of our council meeting of December 21st, 2015. We have a motion to accept those. Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Johnson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. Under appointments this evening, we have the proposed Newark City Council committee assignments. As you see, they're listed there on your agenda. That'll be the new committees for the next 2 years. I think we'll just do a voice vote if that's okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. There was one thing. Did you change that? One thing that we are going to change on the Budget Review Committee. According to council rules, the treasurer is also part of that committee, and that did not get on there, so if that's okay with everyone, I will be adding the treasurer to the Budget Review Committee. Thank you. Next, we have adoption of the rules and the order of business of council. Again, we'll do a voice vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. That passes. We have one report this evening from city officials, one from Barb Jobs, the city tax administrator, the income tax revenue report ending December 15, 2015. Without objection, that'll be received and filed. Then we have under communications, a communication from Paul Moran and his comments on the December 21st, 2015 city council meeting. Without objection, that will also be received and filed. Next on the agenda, we have comments from citizens. There are 2 sections where we have comments from citizens. One is now and one is after the legislation. If you please just let me know if you have a comment by putting your hand up so I can recognize you and have you come on up. Mr. Butcher.
I'm Butcher, 263 Union Street. I just have one thing to say. Here recently I've been going up and down these side streets, and some of these side streets they do need fixing. And I've been on Cherry Valley Road here recently. That's getting really bad. And there's one other thing. There was a couple of vehicles were not stopped for emergency vehicle in my ward, and they kept going around through red light, not stopping for emergency vehicle. And I'd like to know what the city is going to do about these people. It's not stopping for emergency vehicle, and they're kind of right in front of these emergency vehicles when they have their lights or siren on. All of the double 10 forecast, it's going to be cold tonight, low of 25. Tomorrow, high only mid 30. So it's going to be warming up for the chance of rain by the middle of next week.
Thank you, William. Anyone else for this first section of citizens' comments? We'll move on to resolutions on the second reading. 15-111.
Resolution 15-111 by Mr. Cost, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Marmee, Mr. Rath, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and enter into contract for certain essential supplies for various departments of the City of Newark, Ohio for 2016.
You've heard the second reading of 15-111. What is your wish? Mr. Cost?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 15-111.
Motion by Mr. Cost. Second by Mr. Bub. Is there any discussion on 15-111? Seeing none, Autumn, please call the roll vote.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
And Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
15-111 passes 9-0. Next, we have 15-112.
Resolution 15-112 by Mr. Cost, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Marmee, Mr. Rath, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio to advertise for bids and enter into contracts subject to the appropriation of funds for the off-site disposal of lime sludge from Lagoon Number 1 at Newark's Water Treatment Plant.
You've heard the second reading of 15-112. What is your wish?
Mr. President,
Mr. Cost?
make a motion to adopt 15-112.
Motion by Mr. Cost, second by Mr. Bub. Is there any discussion on 15-112? Seeing none, Autumn, please call the roll vote.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Bub?
Yeah.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
And Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
15-112 passes 9-0. And that concludes our legislation this evening. You guys picked a great night to come. For the government class or whatever you guys picked a great night to come. Next on the agenda, we have comments from citizens. That's our second opportunity. Do we have anyone? Mr. Butcher.
I'm Floyd Butcher, 263 Union Street. Let me just say again, I've been up down West Main. It looks really good, but some of these side streets are really bad. And I'd like to know what the city's going to do about it. My double 10 forecast, mostly cloud tonight of 25, and see rain by next week. I'll get the double 10 weather forecast.
Thank you, William. Anyone else? Anyone from the administration this evening? Our Honorable Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I'd just like to appreciate Ms. Floyd's mentioning the passing of Mr. Gibney. Pete Gibney had a long history of involvement with City Council. As we know, he was certainly not afraid to speak his mind and express his opinion and make that abundantly clear to everyone. He was not a fan of politicians, and he was not a fan of lawyers. But being both, I took his nickname. He used to call me Slick. I took that as a compliment. I don't know if it was meant as a compliment, but I took it as a compliment, and I'll miss Pete at these meetings. I also appreciate William giving us the weather forecast tonight. I will follow with the sports report.
There we go.
Go Tigers. And I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Sessom. Oh, goodness. Mr. Bob. That's a tough act to follow, isn't it?
Mayor wanted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor Hall, maybe you'd like to
Okay,
speak. I'm
Mr.
sorry.
President, not a problem.
Wow, sorry.
I would just like to extend our condolences to certainly the Gibney family and the Kennedy family. Erin Kennedy was strong to the end, I'll tell you. She was president of Rotary here and led those meetings up to just recently. So it was a tough weekend for those families, but we extend the condolences on to them. And just welcome everyone with a Happy New Year and look forward to working with council. Thank everyone for 2015. Look forward to a good, exciting year in 2016. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mayor. You are going to do the State of the City in 2 weeks,
I will do the State of
right?
the City in 2 weeks, that's correct.
Well, actually the 19th, so, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Butler.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple items this evening. I'd also like to pass my condolences on to the Kennedy family and the Gibney family. Both will be greatly missed. I didn't know Erin too well. I knew Scott, her husband, very well. Done a lot of business with him throughout the years, and it's a huge loss for our community. Pete Gibney will be sadly missed. Really enjoyed talking to him. Had great insight on city government, and had one of the most entertaining comments that I remember. It was probably about 6 years ago. It had to do with Twitter, and I don't. If I repeated it, I'd probably mess it up. But I think the law director probably knows what I'm talking about. It was entertaining. So with that, and the last item, I really want to encourage fellow council members and all the citizens here tonight. With the closure on 3rd Street coming up, really need to make an effort to patronize those businesses coming up, because it's going to be a rough. Let's hope it's only 3.5 months for them, but it really is going to, traffic's going to be clogged up for a while, and those businesses are going to be hurting. So let's try to make that extra effort to go shop and go eat down there, down around that whole downtown corridor on 3rd Street. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Mr. Cost?
I'd like to thank my wife and family for being here this evening. It means the world to me. I'd also like to thank Mr. Sasson for making the sports report brief.
Thank you, Mr. Cost. Mrs. Floyd?
I'd like to welcome Mark Frazier on City Council, and congratulations to those other people who were elected or re-elected and are back on council with us, and that's a good thing. I decided that I'm supporting Clemson because I don't want the SEC to win. It's like the Buckeyes look good, and so, for once I'm on Doug's side in a ball game. And with that, Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Floyd. Mr. Frazier?
Thank you, President Ellington. I'd like to take this time to highlight the great opportunity before this council and the administration. Our city finds itself in a unique period of time in which public and private investment is making an unprecedented impact on updating and revitalizing our historic downtown. The city has a $30 million general fund budget with an additional $51 million allocated in the other portion of the budget. The mandate of the people is simple: manage the business of government, collaborate within all government and private entities, and move our city forward to achieve even greater success. We must do what is prudent and wise for our city to remain the vibrant and distinct community that we see today. I look forward to the role of Public Safety Chair and the opportunity to work with Chief Connell, and our terrific safety forces, as well as with Director Spurgeon, to make Newark a safer place. We need to ensure the ongoing safety and security of all of our citizens and provide the quality service expected by our constituents. Only by establishing trust and respect between all parties can we remove the political motives that often accompany talks of safety, and that we can determine the real needs of the forces. I am not here to score political points or further an unwritten agenda. I am here to serve the people of Newark and further the causes of our community. We must continue to adequately staff and equip our safety forces and evaluate all the solutions to bring what is right and expedient to fruition. This council and the administration will face tough decisions in 2016. I look forward to working together to find the best solutions for our city. It is crucial that the current progress continues and all citizens of Newark be taken into account for all future decisions. I would like to thank all of those that have supported me throughout my life, especially my family, my wife, my mother, my in-laws as well as my brother. And I welcome your support and prayers for this new role. I would like to thank the administration for meeting with me last week and informing me on the current state of affairs and discussing my concerns. I also want to thank the people of Newark for this opportunity, as I see limitless possibilities for the future of our great city. I would also like to announce that the Historical Hudson Community Association is having a chicken noodle dinner. It will be January 16th at the Central Christian Church. Pre-order tickets are available, as well as tickets at the door. $8 for adults, $4 for children. I hope all that can make it can attend. And I just want to say it's a privilege to be up here with all of you, and I look forward to the next 4 years. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier, and welcome. I'll have my welcome. And you made it just under the 3-minute time limit.
I appreciate it.
I wish everyone a happy new year and stay warm. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Johnson.
Well, almost everything's been said, but Happy New Year to everyone. I too will support Clemson. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to call a Finance Committee meeting. I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Welcome Mr. Frazier to Council, and also congratulate all those that are back in their elected positions. I also want to give my condolences to the Kennedy family and the Gibney family. In particular, Pete Gibney. I respected him a lot. He was a very intelligent individual. We did see eye to eye on a lot of things, not always, but most things we did. And but he always had those little subliminal zingers that he would put in there, and I really enjoyed that about him. He made you think, and he challenged you also, because he would give you a different opinion, a different spin on something as far as, did you think of it in this capacity? And that will be greatly missed. I want to put out a special thank you to our safety forces. They just do an incredible job all year round. But while those of us, the citizens of Newark, were able to enjoy the holidays in a safe capacity, they still stood their watch while we were with our loved ones, and I really do appreciate what they do and the sacrifices that they make for those of us in the city of Newark, so then we can enjoy living and raising our families in Newark. And that I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Marmon. Mr. Rapp.
Thank you. I will call a service committee meeting and an economic development committee meeting. Wish everybody a happy new year. Mr. Frazier, welcome. Council. The only thing you stole my thunder, I was going to remind you to go over the rules with him, including the time segment. In expanding the sports report, I just wanted to send out a special thank you to the Buffalo Bills and say, go Steelers. And also to send out my condolences to the Gibney and Kennedy families. I also had lots of conversations with Pete Gibney, and he definitely did give you a unique insight, and he will certainly be missed. With that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Love.
Thank you, Mr. President. I as well would like to express my condolences to the Kennedy family. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Mr. Gibney, but I knew Mrs. Erin Kennedy quite well, and I'm thankful I had the opportunity to know her. She touched the lives of many people through her community service and her work, and the Kennedy family has done a lot for me personally as well. It was just several months ago, I was sitting at the kitchen table with Mrs. Kennedy, and she was helping me grieve the loss of my grandfather who passed away. So, she always helped others and showed compassion for others. That's the kind of person she was. And her son is one of my very best friends, so I'd ask that you please keep her husband and her sons and her other family members in your thoughts. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Love. I'd also like to add my condolences to the Kennedy and Gibney families. Pete would always have a comment about my haircut, sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending on the day. And we always had some fun with that, and I'll certainly miss him. Our next meeting will be, committee meetings will be January the 11th, right here, starting at 5:30. Our next full council meeting will be January 19th, not the 18th. The 18th is a holiday, so it'll be Tuesday the 19th, where we'll also have the State of the City by the Mayor. Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate your attendance. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Cost, second by Mr. Rapp. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.